driving, I can have 6 cars.
So I have to pay on my $1 million RV in the country?
That's right. Any other income. And then you add up the total from 1 to 9, and that's your total assets. And then you deduct your debts. Now let me tell you what happens here in America. Very few Muslims pay zakat. Why? Because their mortgage is there. But here's what I want to point out to you folks. I'm trying to help you out. If you've got several $100,000 sitting in the bank and you have a mortgage, according to Islamic principles, what would you want to be doing with that money? Paying off that mortgage. That's what you want to be doing. You want to be get that principal paid off. You want to get your home paid for Islamically. You want to get out of that riba if you can. Then you would deduct your debts and your expenses, and that is your zakat eligible total. You would then, anything that exceeds this amount, so you subtract that from it, and you multiply it times 0.025.
And the debts and expenses, and for the monthly debts and expenses, or? The debts is okay, but expenses, I mean, is this like the regular, rent or mortgage or stuff like that, or?
That's a good question. I do not know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
It must be yearly. Must be yearly.
I need to do some research on that. Will you make me a note of that, Mason? That I needed to do some research on line 11 there. Funny enough, I've never been asked that question. But that is the form. You have it with you. Do with it what you will. Pray about it. Seek Allah's guidance. But the most important thing is if you have a surplus of money and you don't have a mortgage, you don't have that situation, you want to make sure you give Allah His due. Yes, brother?
Just a question on the retirement account. Because in many cases, a 401k is basically a retirement account. And in some cases, you don't have access to the funds of the retirement account.
My understanding, and every person I've talked to, except 2 or 3, has said that until you have access to that money, like right now I have a TSP account from when I was a chaplain in the Bureau of Prisons. They will not give me that money for anything in the world unless I have a catastrophe. So that's not a surplus to me. When I cash it out and I get that money, then I would be eligible to pay on it. And that's...
That's not true. You can get that money if you pay an extra 10% in taxes.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah. Okay. It's like maximum taxes plus 10%. You can get that money. So if you have $100, you'll get $50.
So...
But it's not readily accessible.
Yeah, it's in my... Look, Allahu Alam, maybe I shouldn't teach this because maybe I don't know enough about it, but I feel like the penalty Islamically for not paying this is so grave that I would do you a disservice not to teach it. But I have looked for great books on the subject, and I have 4 or 5 in my library. And it's something we need in this country, particularly because we work with a very different economic system. For example, in Islamic economics, and I did study this a little bit when I did my Master's in Islamic Studies, it's all about a win-win situation. All of Islamic financing is about win-win. In this country, it's not typically win-win.
No.
For the most part.
Imam Sir, wasn't there a time in a Khalifa's reign, I can't remember his name, when everybody was paying their zakat, there was not a single poor person in the Islamic Ummah.
That is
In
correct.
Darman, it was way after Prophet Muhammad had died, so it was a huge empire. It wasn't just like Saudi Arabia.
That is exactly right. As a matter of fact, after the death of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu and I can't remember the exact story, but someone wanted to stop the zakat because Muhammad Sallallahu had passed away, and one of the great caliphs said he would declare war if people, Abu Bakr, if they didn't pay their zakat, because he knew that this is from Quran, that this is not something that they can give up because the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu had died. So here is the group again in Surah 9 and verse 60 that zakat is for. Okay, and there it is listed again. And here's the what most scholars say to be paid locally to the Muslim community where the individual lives and earns his or her income. According to the four major scholars, the poor of the city have a prior claim over the local zakat than the poor elsewhere.
Can you go back one slide? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. And Surah 960 is where that comes from, sister. And look, I know a lot of people that use the verse in the Quran about the hierarchy of who is entitled to your health, and they tie this into zakat. And there is an argument among the scholars. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I've given you the very best I can give you. Just don't run away from a pillar of Islam. It's just too dangerous. Now, inshallah, next week, the lecture will be about the virtues of Ramadan. We're just going to go through everything we can name. We're going to go through the hadiths and the Quran on the virtues of Ramadan. And the class is already done. I've actually finished it. It's canned. It's ready to go. But I think it'll be good for you to recap on trying to, and you might want to bring a notebook and just write down every one of these blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in the month of Ramadan. Yeah, and it is because that's exactly why I wanted to do it. And can I just show this real quickly? I know we are 5 minutes to 1, but this was when I was talking about the actual weight. Zakat al-Fitr is an obligatory charity on every free Muslim, provided they actually have the necessary amount of food, 5 pounds or 2.03 liters of food, and that on the night before the Eid, and on the Eid itself, this is in excess of what one needs to feed oneself and those whom one is obliged to support, what one needs to clothe them, and in excess of one's debt and housing expenses. This is sort of a ruling for Zakat al-Fitr. It's sort of highly unlikely that there's anyone in our class, I doubt, that's in this situation. If there is, we want to help you. And I beg you that if you're in this situation, I plead with you, I implore you, I beseech you by Allah, that if you're in this situation, we're not going to broadcast it. We're not going to tell anybody about it, but please come to us because we would like to help you. If we have the money and you're in this situation, we want to help you.
I never knew that we had to pay zakat on our car. Car keep on depreciating.
No, you don't pay zakat on your car unless you have more cars than the individuals in your family.
Only one me.
Right, it's exemption. Remember, if you look on that form,
Yeah,
your car is an exemption.
Oh,
See, if you see, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, number 8, line number 8.
yeah, line.
Net value of motor vehicles exemption, 1 per driver.
Oh.
So it does not apply to you unless you got 3 people in the family, you got 5 cars, then you got to pay on the 2 cars.
Yeah.
What most people do is they take the 2 cheapest cars. I'm just telling you, it's hysterical because over the years when I work with people on this thing, they treat it just like the IRS. They say, oh, well, I got another blue bill here. I got that old Volkswagen sitting in the backyard that hadn't been great for 5 years. And I don't use that one, you know.
I think this in Islamic countries, 2.5% is the tax on people, as far as I know.
Allah, but that's a different subject. So I don't want to confuse you. Let me ask you this: how many people, and I want you to be honest with me, felt that there was value in this class today? How many people learned something that they didn't know today?
Okay,
alhamdulillah. Then I feel like, inshallah, we achieved something. We can turn the camera off. I just want to say in closing that obviously today is the